Hey folks, glad you made it. This is almost done here. We'll let that wind its way down here while people find their way in. Alright, so I've got chat up on a second monitor over here. I'm actually in the room today, just in case anyone didn't get the memo. But it seems like most of you folks did, so that's awesome. Welcome aboard. Alrighty. There we go. Cool, so I'll save that for some break music. Good afternoon. How you folks doing? So hopefully you found the right place here. This is CIS 1500. Oh my goodness, I put the wrong year on here. I still think it's 2021, apparently. Let me go fix that, I'm sorry. This is, as many times as I read these things, I still screw them up, which is funny. That happens. So this is the Tuesday one. Good afternoon. Is that Ekugu? Isugu? Terrible with handles, but I do enjoy trying to pronounce them. So let me know if I get it wrong. Let's see. Not that one. Not the other one. This one, 2022. Okay, cool. We fixed that. Just in case there's anything else to fix, I'll stick to the Word document for the moment here. Hey, Poopy-tastic. All right. So this is me. I'm Eric Chinesky, the one and only Eric Chinesky in the world. So hopefully you had a chance to Google me, check out my reviews and stuff like that, see my background. It's not hard to find me. This is my official college email address here. It does come to my phone, so feel free to email me anytime. I've had people put in their emails, they apologize for emailing me late. And I feel like I should let everyone know, you can send emails anytime you want. I'm just not going to read them necessarily at 3 in the morning unless I happen to be up at 3 in the morning. So no need for anything like that. This is my cell phone. I do have a campus phone number, but I don't use it ever. We're not really on campus very often. I'm not planning on being on campus this semester at all, if I can help it, except for these couple days, given this pandemic and us trying to help keep things a little more sane for our healthcare workers and some of my high-risk kiddos. So my office hours will be virtual, not on campus, which saves everyone a drive anyway, and we've got screen sharing tools so I can see what's going on your computer. I think virtual office hours are probably the way to go anyway. But if you do manage to find the office phone number, the voicemail will tell you, please don't leave voicemails, call my cell phone. So call or text anytime is fine. Usually between 8 and midnight, 8 in the morning, up till midnight or so, I'm around doing something, so you might be able to catch me. I do have 6 kids, and I'm busy with a bunch of things, so if I don't answer, leave me a voicemail. Let me know what time is okay to call back. Someone said it was really important I should call them back, and I called them back at 11 p.m., and they were really upset with me because they were already asleep trying to get, had to be at work at 6 in the morning. So do let me know. All right, we're going to time you out here. That is weird. All right. Easy. Sorry about that. Usually Twitch is pretty friendly here. I don't know what's going on with some of these people. So, what do you find crazy, Micro? Sorry, Microcosmic. Yep. So, anyways, this is the Tuesday night section here. We meet Tuesday nights. We never will go till 9:45 p.m. because this is a lab-based class. So ideally about half the class I spend talking to you, showing you things, illustrating how to do new things in Java, and then you spend the second half trying those things outside just like the regular practice back and forth. Oh, the amount of kids I have? Yeah. No, they're a lot of fun. So the littlest guy is 7 currently, and my oldest is 20. So they kind of run the range here. So our classroom will meet here on Twitch. I'm not a big fan of Zoom, and it actually broke my laptop yesterday, so I'm a little bit bitter. I prefer Twitch. I've actually been using Twitch since before the pandemic started, believe it or not. I used to teach a night class over at U of M Dearborn the winter semester, and it was like a 3-credit night class. It was late and dark and, Michigan winters and things. And someone said it'd be nice if they could join remotely or if I could record things. And I was like, oh, hey, I watch people on Twitch. I'm a big nerd. I like watching people game and do things. And So I thought I wanted to try it myself, and it worked out pretty nice. So, hey, Maywin, all right, you're here to learn? So it's been going pretty well for me. With Zoom, almost everyone, actually everyone ever now, who's been in a classroom environment has been just a black screen. And I actually tried it with my class yesterday, and no one even talked, which is the one downside of using Twitch, is you have no voice chat to talk with me if you've got questions, but the text chat is pretty cool. And yeah, it works out pretty well. And then if your names aren't on it, I can export these out to YouTube publicly, and I don't have to worry about hiding videos behind certain links and asking you guys not to share things and whatnot. So I think it goes pretty well. Just that reminder, Twitch and YouTube and Discord and GitHub. So basically all the tools we're going to use in class are public. So use any username and handle you want. You don't need to use your name, and attendance isn't required. If asynchronous is more your style, you're welcome to pick up the recordings here on my YouTube channel after the fact. Twitch does keep them, but only for about 45 days. And I had somebody upset with me that when they went to go take the final exam, one of the recordings from like the second week of class wasn't available. I was like, okay, I mean, if you got to go back and look that far, sure. But I put them out on YouTube now, and just they keep them around, makes life easy. So you could actually, if you're bored and want to work ahead or check out what else is in the pipeline, previous semester's 1,500 courses are out there on YouTube as well. So generally, a lot of the examples stay the same. Projects are different every time, but in a similar topic. So if you're curious, go for it there. Yep. So the course catalog description, nothing new here. This should be a copy paste out of the course catalog. We don't have any prereqs aside from assuming you know how to work a computer, and particularly can find files. That turns out to be a little bit difficult lately, given everyone does things on phones nowadays. File management is a bit lacking, and we'll take some time and focus on that a little bit. So in terms of some outcomes, critical thinking is one of the major outcomes here in our software engineering program. Software engineering is both an art and a science. A lot of people like to think it's just a science, but there really is an art to it on how we take problems and break them down and solve problems and come up with approaches and use the tools that we have in our toolkit to solve these things. So all these sorts of things in critical thinking to accomplish that assigned task apply here. Common course outcomes, things that we actually go and assess across every 1,500 section, no matter who teaches it, to make sure we're doing the right things, teaching the right things in the course, are these 1 through 8. Some of this might sound like gibberish, and that's okay. We'll get into what all of these things mean, but we will use our IDE, our Integrated Development Environment, to develop a running Java program. We'll edit, compile, and run the program. We can be able to use the debugger. The debugger will be your best friend. We'll take a look at what that does for us and how we can use it to see inside of what's happening in the program. It's really cool. We can work with constants and variables and primitive data types, understand variables, operators, type conversions, basic input and output operations, all sorts of fun stuff here. We'll get into that, don't worry. We'll both follow Java code and write Java code that uses branching and looping flow controls. These couple keywords here in quotes. We'll write Java code that both reads from and writes to disk files. So we'll do some working with disk files, which is lots of fun. And by disk means like your hard drive. Long-term storage, which is really fun. So we can have persistent information between running our programs. Oh, that's a really sweet emote. What is that? Sizer? That's really cool. I like that. We'll write a Java class, which is a way of writing Java code, create objects of that class with all these sorts of things. We'll get into that. Understand the concept of scope and variables. Yep, I'm sure this is fun having me read these to you. I'm sorry. Core concepts of inheritance we'll get into. Code that utilizes arrays we'll get into. And last but not least, we'll write a GUI program, a graphical user interface program with event handling. The first 2/3 of the class is everything is done on the command line or shell. The last third of class, we actually get into graphical user interface programming where there's buttons to click on, things to do. You can actually use your mouse. Up until that point, the mouse is worthless for us when our programs run. But we got to start somewhere, so it's better to start off slow. Our textbook here is Murrock's Java Programming, the 5th edition. The 6th just came out a couple days ago, if I recall correctly. So it was not out early enough for our bookstore to get it in stock, unfortunately. So we're still using the 5th edition. The physical version or the digital version ISBN, get it from our bookstore or your favorite online bookstore or an actual bookstore if you'd so choose. I don't imagine many actual bookstores carry this one, but you're welcome to take a look. Other tools we're going to use. So again, GitHub, Discord, Twitch are all public services. Use whatever username and handle you want. You need to make an account with github.com. It's a free account. Please don't pay for anything. It'll set you up with the username. It'll have to be unique, and we'll go from there with that. We're going to make use of the GitHub desktop client. It's a real quick install, desktop.github.com. We'll install that and use that. I'll show you how to do that all today. Don't worry. I know it's going to be a lot, but we'll get through it all. And you can even watch back the recording if you want. Link for Discord one more time. I thought I had that up above, but maybe not. So in the Discord server, I have channels set up for each of my classes, both here and at U of M Dearborn, and then some general channels as well. Let's see if I actually have that open. Thought I had it open. Maybe I don't. So I'll show you on the server. Feel free to pop in on the CIS 1500 channel, ask any sort of class-specific questions. If you have cute pictures of your pets, drop them in the pets channel. If you've got safe for work memes, feel free to drop them in the memes channel. I love seeing your funny stuff. Come on, Discord. It's thinking about it. Sorry, Lemon, what? Lemon things you do? My computer is a little sad. I'm about to replace it. Hopefully tomorrow I can go get a new one after class. It's given me some issues earlier. It's been a rough week. So let's see. Here we go. So here's our server. Ideally, people will find some value in hanging around, whether even if it's just throwing some memes around and chatting, that we can build up this career info section. I actually got this posting from a student last semester at his company. This is like the first time I've seen a posting that says they want an entry-level software engineer. You don't need any professional experience. They said 2 to 3 years coding experience, which could just be college classes, which is fantastic. So if we've got stuff like that to share, that's awesome. If you find places that do internships that you recommend, drop those there. Places you've done an internship that you would not recommend, drop that info there. Hey, King, thanks for coming along. Okay, Micro, you got your GitHub all set up? Oh, okay, Lemon, yeah, the Discord you posted. Yeah. So interesting stuff. Anything tech that's interesting, anything gaming, drop it in gaming here. We'll have some fun. Got some cool pictures of pets. 1 year experience watching your streams. There you go. Are these hamsters? Are they mice? Gerbils? It's hard to tell sometimes with these little animals. But like some people hosted their really cute dogs. I love dogs and cats. I'm more of a cat person myself, just because dogs are a lot of work and you have to let them outside and stuff. Cats are a little more independent here. So, but feel free to post stuff in the course channel. Anything you want in here. Oh, yeah, I see. So I have a Monday, Wednesday morning section as well. We follow mostly along, but the schedule gets a little funny because they have Monday off for MLK Day, so they're kind of behind half a day from you folks. So it gets a little funny here, but whichever works better. Monday, Wednesdays, or Tuesday nights, go for it. That's Discord. So it's just a chat program, nice place to ask questions. If it's a general question about the course, about an assignment, about something, feel free to ask it there. If it's something specific like, hey, the code I wrote is having a problem, that's better off as a direct message to me or an email, or I'll show you how to send me some GitHub links and things. But just like we were meeting in person, if you ask the question in the public channel, everyone else gets a chance to see your question and to hear me or read me answer it, essentially. So it really helps with that classroom environment. The discussion board on D2L is just awful, and they are awful, so I'm not going to use them unless we have to. So that's it for some of the other tools. And then in terms of Java programming, or the web browser, right? You need a web browser for all sorts of things. But for Java programming, we're going to use NetBeans in class. NetBeans is an open source IDE, or integrated development environment, that we're going to use in class. The latest version out, I believe, is 12.6. You can go download that and install that. The Java Development Kit, the JDK. We're fond of using the Open JDK. I followed Dr. Baugh's example because he's a lot smarter than I am. He's our department chair here. And he said, go use the Open JDK. So I said, sure, I'll go do that thing. The Open JDK originated because when Java first came out, it was a nice open source tool. or open source programming language, and it was like that for a long time. Anybody could use it for free for anything they wanted. And then not too long ago, Oracle came and bought them and decided they wanted to make people license it for commercial use, which rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But because it was built off an open source tool, essentially your license gets you like enterprise support from Oracle. Hey, thanks so much for following along, Adam. There's a split, and now separate folks maintain an open implementation of the JDK that we're going to use, so we don't have to deal with any of the Oracle nonsense. Hey, iWalk, following as well. Thanks for coming along. Love seeing those emotes splash around. So we're going to use the OpenJDK. It's a couple extra steps to download. I'll show you how to do all that in just a minute, so don't sweat it too much. And then in the last third of class, when we get to graphical user interface programming, we're going to use the OpenJFX package, OpenJavaFX, and Scene Builder tools for building our user interfaces. If you don't want to install NetBeans and the OpenJDK yourself, no big deal. You can use the virtual desktops that the school has. Go download the Horizon VMware Client software for your particular operating system. Follow this link, find the right one for you, and you can connect in and use all the tools. What is not there is the GitHub client. This one actually doesn't install like system-wide, and installs per user, so it was kind of weird to try and get IT to install it ahead of time. So just go download it fresh every time. It's really quick. It's a quick download. It'll add like an extra minute or two maybe. Apologies for that, but it's really good, and I'll show you how to use that today as well. So you can use the virtual machine, but you'll still have to do the GitHub client, or you can do it all on your own personal machine, and you're up and running. All right, and I'll show you how to do all these tools in a little bit here. And we got some install videos you can follow along as well if you're running any trouble. And I can always hop on and do some screen sharing. So happy to meet with you folks and see. Oh, I forgot to mention my office hours up here, right? So Monday, I've got class in the morning and class in the afternoon. So between classes, I've got some office hours I can meet with people. Wednesday afternoon, I've got some office hours I can meet with people, or by appointment. I find more often than not, people seem to be free later at night. That's my schedule as well. Not much of a morning person, but if you're a morning person, maybe I can make that work too. Usually my kids are in bed by 9:30ish, and after that, I'm up and getting work done and trying to do things so I can meet by appointment. But I don't have any like standing hours because I don't want to have to be sitting up in my office if I don't need to. So let me know if you want to schedule an appointment. If you want to meet outside of the regular hours, please send me like 3 times that'll work for you, and I'll see if I can make one of them work. Otherwise, it's just first come, first serve for reserving, 15, 20, 30 minutes of time. We can do some screen share, chat about whatever's going on. If you just want to talk about technology, I love talking about technology as well. Interesting things, development. There's always all sorts of fun stuff happening in the industry. So always good to chat. So feel free to reach out, call, text, email, find me on Discord. Let me know, and I'll book that slot for you so I don't get double booked. Let's see. Okay, course policy. So assessment policies and procedures. I am rather particular about plagiarism and cheating because it's a big pet peeve of mine. So essentially, we follow the same rules as English papers, right? You don't plagiarize. Plagiarism tends to be the biggest issue I have because people go find some code online and they copy paste it and pretend like it's theirs. If you copy paste something and you don't cite your source, that's plagiarism, right? It's presenting someone else's ideas, data, words, images, or products without giving credit to the originator. If you cite your source, it's not plagiarism. Now, that being said, you would not take a 5-page quote, turn it in with a single citation for an English paper, and say, look, here's my paper, here's a giant quote. Same thing goes with our programs. You're not going to take an entire thing that you found online, do one citation, and say, here's my project. Right? I mean, ideally, the projects I create for you folks are not Googleable. I do spend a little bit of time trying to make sure I can't Google for the silly things I come up with. So you should be doing your original work. If you do find, hey, here's one little piece of something that I figured out. Here's how I go see, hey, is there a vowel in this word here? Cite your source, we're fine. Right? Because you've now given credit to the originator. I'm fine with you using resources. There is not a developer job in the world where someone is asked to do something and told you may not look up anything online. Right? No one ever tells you you have to do this by memory. That'd be silly. Right? You want your developers, your software engineers to do a good job, not do it from the top of their head. So I follow that same approach. That being said, any student engaging in academic dishonesty will receive a failing grade for the course and be reported to the dean's office. So our deans here at the school track this college-wide in your record, and I believe we still have a 3-strike policy. I got to double check and confirm that with my dean, but last I checked that was the rule. So after 3 occurrences of said academic dishonesty, you will be expelled and no longer be welcome to be a student here. So Random Hero, I'm actually on campus just in case anyone didn't get the memo. We wanted instructors, if they're going to switch to remote instruction, to be here the first day, just in case you didn't see the email or check in D2L, and just make sure everything gets a smoother start than possible. So yeah, I'm here on campus. No one else showed up because you all got the memo, which is nice. So I'm glad no one was surprised. Hopefully that went well for you folks. But if no one else shows up in the next little while or so after we take a break, I'm probably just going to lock myself in the room and I can take off the mask because there's no one else in this big old room. And I think I'll be okay here. So that being said, if you're not sure if something is academic dishonesty, ask me. All you have to do is ask, right? Again, that rule of thumb, if you're taking an entire project and citing a source, I'm going to tell you, no, that's not cool. Don't do it. Go do your own work. And we're fine. You're going to go do your own work. If you find something and you're like, oh, I'm not really sure how to cite this, I'll tell you, hey, here's how you cite this. We're fine. Okay? So ask if you're not sure. That being said, I had a student one semester. I didn't think this had to be explicitly said, but they went and posted my assignment on chegg.com to that expert answer service where you pay to have people help you cheat, which is a bunch of crap. Chegg are awful. They're awful people. I hope they go out of business. And they then cited their source and say, look, I found this answer on chegg.com. Can I use it? And to get information out of Chegg, I have to involve my dean, get a physical letter signed by them, scanned and sent over to their anti-cheat or whatever, academic integrity division, and then within 3 business days, they'll respond to me with very little information as possible that they can about who posted what and when it was posted and all sorts of nonsense. It's awful. So under no circumstances may Chegg.com be used. Don't post stuff there. Don't cite answers posted there. Any use of Chegg or similar websites like Course Hero or all the other nonsense places where you post assignments and give you answers would be considered academic misconduct. A site like Stack Overflow, where there's existing code examples, is perfectly fine to cite. Don't go to Stack Overflow questions and post a question and ask someone to do your homework for you. I actually had a student do that once, and I caught them on it when I would go and troll the site just to look for my stuff. When I Google before I post projects, I Google after I post the projects, after people turn them in, just to see if anything popped up in the meantime. It's a big waste of time, and it really irritates me. And to be honest, it is in your folks' best interest as well if cheaters don't get degrees. Because if someone cheats their way through school and they suck at it and they never learned what to do and how to program, when they go and get a job somewhere, their employer is going to think they're awful and fire them, and they're not going to hire someone who gets that degree again, because they're going to think our school did a terrible job educating you and we're just all a bunch of losers, when in fact someone cheated their way through. So I'm going to do my best. I'm not perfect, and I might miss it. I'm actually pretty sure in the 10 years of teaching that I have missed some instances of people cheating, just because I didn't notice it. I'm not perfect, but in the 10 years of teaching, I don't think I have yet had a semester in which I've not had to fail someone for cheating, which sucks. It's a ton of paperwork that I have to fill out and send to the dean's office and do all these things to document this is what happened, yada, yada, yada. It irritates me, and then I complain, and I'm all irritable, and then it irritates my wife because I'm all grumpy, and it's just bad for everybody. So let's just agree to not, please. That would just make life so much easier. So not only plagiarism, that's the biggest one here, but giving someone a test or other material is also cheating. Oh, awesome. Yeah, the AP Computer Science curriculum. That's very cool. Yeah, I think they use Java for AP Computer Science. So not only is this students who cheat, but those who aid and abet the cheating. So if one of your classmates says, hey, can I see your project? I just want to see how you did it. Tell them to go get lost. Because if they copy your code and turn it in, you are guilty of supplying that to them, and you will both fail the course. So please don't do that. Hey, Jack Gamer. Oh. Yeah, very cool. And I think the principles course is a little bit different for AP Computer Science. I never did that in high school. I've heard of a couple of people who did, but don't recall it very well. All right, so that's the course policy on plagiarism and cheating. We'll talk about this again in a little bit. There's a syllabus quiz in which you'll take that will answer some questions out of the syllabus. And one of the things that you'll say is you have read and understood the policy and that you put your name down. That is one of the things I have to include in my documentation when I fail people and turn everything into the dean to say, look, they said they understood the policy. So, yeah. All right. Anyway, on to happier things. The student code of conduct. This is just a copy-paste thing. Make sure you keep your classroom corridors quiet. Sure, that sort of silly stuff. Grading. This is what everyone seems to care about. How do you get that letter grade that determines your GPA and all sorts of other things here? So I use a weighted system. And what that means is each one of these categories will contribute this percentage to your overall final score. So of all of the labs that we do, they'll make up 10% of your overall score. So if you get 90% on the labs category of all the lab projects, all the lab assignments, you'll get 9 out of 10% out of that 100% in the class. Right? For the individual projects themselves, these are big projects. The labs are like little, repeat the thing we did in class essentially, with a couple differences. Just a quick little trial. These are essentially participation points. They used to be like in-class exercises, but there's no like in-class. Hey, Bran. Deja vu. The projects are bigger. These are harder to solve, right? They're going to take time, energy, and effort, some problem solving, using the tools we've talked about in class to go and solve bigger problems. These generally are a little bit more open-ended. There's a task for you to accomplish, and you can go about it any way you approach, any way you want. We do quizzes on each chapter. They're open book, open notes, open internet, although you shouldn't have to Google anything. They come right out of the textbook. Actually, I use the question banks because it lines up the easiest with the material in the textbook. So just know where to go find the information. You don't need to memorize anything. All right, have a good dinner, King. We'll have one exam in the class, a midterm. It's only worth 10%. And I know only sounds like it's not a lot, and 10% is a lot, but you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's a relatively low-weighted test that you'll see in most syllabuses. So 10%, it's open book, open notes, open internet. You'll have the entire week to work on it. It's not like you have to click start, you have 4 hours to click submit. I think timed exams are a terrible way of measuring if someone can accomplish a goal. Now, it's not that time doesn't matter, right? You don't have unlimited time in the industry to go and accomplish a task. But in terms of, hey, can you get something done and can I assess if you've learned it? I just want to know if you can get it done. I don't want to know if you've learned it well enough to do it in 4 hours or not. There's no Team Explorer in Visual Studio. Oh, there's a project Explorer in NetBeans. I'll show it to you. Git bash. You can use Git from the command line, but I prefer the GitHub desktop client. It works out a little nicer. And then the last piece here for your score is the final project. This is worth the most points in the class, 40%, and that is intentional, that you cannot get a letter grade other than F without completing the final project. It's the capstone project for the class, puts everything we've done together. That being said, it sounds big and scary, but we literally have a month to do it, or almost an entire month, given the way our schedule kind of works out here. So that is the last thing we do in the class. We write our Java FX, our GUI program with buttons and widgets and all sorts of fun things to click on and interact with, and it generally is interesting. I won't claim it's the most interesting thing in the world, but we build a little game, and we go around and we play the games. Okay, so this is the grading scale. I know it says 93.9, but I do round, so like 93.5 will round up to a 94. 93.1 does not round up, friends. Remember, rounding takes to the nearest whole number. So 0.5 and higher will round up. One of these days I'll just get rid of the percent signs, but I've got it in here just to be documented. Oh, very cool, Bran. It's not an interesting game at all. It's just a little, I mean, this is the very first programming course, so it's a small little dungeon crawl style game. For end grades, if you don't turn anything in the first, I believe it's 3 weeks, you're likely to receive an end grade. I'll be in contact with anybody who's not done that, so don't worry. But it does have implications for all sorts of financial aid, and I forget the whole story here. For late work, I don't take anything late. No points at all. So the reason being, for these projects, I'm going to go over solutions to the projects the day that they're due. So they'll be due 2 weeks after they're assigned by 6 p.m. So at the start of class, the first thing I do in class is I go over my solution to the project. I've found that seems to help people find a different approach, because everyone can solve problems differently, and that's okay. If you get the job done, you get the points. But there might be a different way to approach the problem, a different way of writing that code. So I like going over my solutions for things like that. So I don't take anything late. I don't even remember where I am now. My goodness. Right here, late work. I scrolled way too far. So nothing acceptable late without prior written approval. So generally, if something big came up and you need to turn it in late, we just have to end up with a different assignment. We're going to use JavaFX Snowden. So we're using the JavaFX library to build the graphical portions of things, but no like Pygame library like in Python. No, just an empty JavaFX application that we build out. Some specific policies and support information for FERPA, privacy rights. I won't tell you anything. Grade-wise, I'll say go look in D2L. Everything's in Desire to Learn. I assume you're the only one with the login to it. That just makes life easy. I'm technically not supposed to tell you anything to student emails, so only official emails, communication, that sort of thing. I don't know who you are on Discord. You don't need to tell me who you are on Discord. That's okay. But I won't tell you grade information because I don't know who you are. But it's all in the course tool, so it should be fine. As far as the Americans with Disabilities Act, if you need any sort of accommodations, please contact the Access Office. They'll send your paperwork over to me, and then you and I can have a chat. The most common accommodations I seem to find are note-taking, which doesn't really apply because we have recordings. So all of the lectures are recorded and exported out to YouTube, so you can watch it again yourself. So generally, we don't do any note-taking, note-sharing sort of things. And then additional time on timed exams and quizzes. You have the entire week to do them all for the exam and the quizzes. So no one has ever came to me and said, well, really, I need a week and a half more than just the week. Really, that's like, hey, if you have a 2-hour quiz, you might need a little additional time, because of dyslexia or something like that. So generally, people seem to do relatively well without needing additional accommodations, but please do let me know. I'm happy to work with you once we've got your paperwork on file. Let me know what I can do to help you be successful. One of my favorite things about OCC is our Academic Support Center. This is super cool. They just sent out an email today. They've got their 2022 winter semester seminar series all ready to go here. So they have study skills seminars. So if you're new to college, they have all sorts of cool study skills seminars to help you be more successful. So like semester planning, time management, how to learn in harmony with your brain. I don't actually know what that one is. Study strategies, taking test strategies, study strategies, this sort of thing here. So all sorts of great study skills, things that our Academic Support Center offers. And then in addition to that, we have, free is not the right word, but we have no additional charge tutoring, which is super cool. Where's that link? Here we go. So don't know if this one's up to date yet. This morning it was still oh, now it is. Hooray, we have the winter schedule. So we have Miss Rika and Mr. Tim. For no additional charge, you can schedule individual appointments with them for one-on-one tutoring, I believe in 1-hour blocks, and they both tutor for CIS 1500. Rika's awesome, and Tim is actually also hosting, specific for my two 1500 classes, group tutoring sessions. I've got to get with him and get the dates for those. So 2 different times a week, he'll run group tutoring sessions. So instead of individual tutoring, it's group tutoring. So anyone who wants to show up for the class, you can meet with Tim, talk about what's going on in the class. He's got extra practice things you can work on. He can give you extra examples, and he'll get you pointed in the right direction. Now, tutors don't, what is their idea here? They don't make better assignments, they make better students, I think was their motto or something like that. So they're not going to do your work for you, right? But they're going to help you, get you the resources you need to solve the problems yourself, and they're fantastic. And our Academic Support Center had actually gone through and looked at, sorry, wrong one, this one, classes that had supplemental instruction or group tutoring, and students who attended were statistically significantly shown to perform better, receive better grades, I guess was our best measure for perform better, would receive better grades than students who did not attend the sessions. And I think that makes sense. If you're going to spend additional time on the class, in one of these sessions, you're likely to do better because you've spent more time with the material. Like most things in life, the amount of effort you put into this is going to determine how much you get out of it. If the only thing you need to do is get a C or better to pass the class and get transfer credit, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all if that's the goal, and that's what you're going to get out of it. If you want to get an A out of it, you want to get everything right, you want to learn the most you can about programming, and you put the time into it, that's what's going to happen. I can't quite guarantee it, but almost a guarantee. So the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And just kind of think about and know what your goals are. In terms of technical support, anything wrong with the D2L site itself, they have 24-hour support. There's not often issues with D2L aside from like the whole thing went down once or twice, I think, the last couple of years. That's just their technical help desk. So anything content related, anything, hey, you're not sure what this means, or something like that, call me. Get in contact with me. I'll be able to help you out with that. Minimum technical skills, you can navigate the web, you can use D2L, basic word processing, presentation creation, file management, and attachment. We're actually going to skip this whole attachment thing because we're using GitHub, which is fantastic, and I'll show you how to do all that in a little while here. But file management, knowing where folders are in your computer, where directories are, how to put files there, and you should be in good shape. Our technology appropriate use regulations. If you use the virtual machines, you agree to this. I think you even agree to this when you log into D2L, but honestly, no one actually reads anything like this. But basically, don't do dumb things or illegal things with college resources, or you might lose access to said resources. And it's really hard to pass computer-based classes if you're not allowed to use anything on the computer systems. So please just don't do anything bad. And in terms of netiquette, I'm quite informal. The only thing I'm going to be particular about is please don't email me in all caps or type in all caps. That's just like yelling, right? That's the internet equivalent of yelling. Please don't do that. That one is particularly rude. Let's just all be civil here. I don't need any sort of fancy email headers like, excuse me, good professor, sir. It's a wonderful afternoon. Would you please take a minute? This sort of, it's fine. Just cut to the point. I'm okay with it. That being said, it's nothing bad about practicing professional communication. It's a good habit to get into, but I'm not going to give you any points for it one way or the other. Micro, yeah. I worry about even joking like stuff like that. just who knows who's listening. Your caps lock is out because you slap the keyboard in your game. That rage quitting, that'll get people. We do have a public safety department, fully licensed, badged police officers. We're not on campus, so it shouldn't be an issue here, but if there are any sort of online harassment issues, we can definitely get them involved if necessary for any sort of law enforcement sort of thing. But in general, it's been pretty nice, and everyone is just kind. I'm relatively quick to ban people who seem to be irritating, and I'll just tell them they can go watch the videos instead. For me, generally, I'll get things returned within a week of when they're due, not when they're turned in, but when the due date is. So I'm usually pretty good about this the first half of the semester, and then things start to pile up, and it gets a little harder to keep up to date. But I'll let you know. The goal is to get everything back within a week. One of these semesters, I'm actually going to do it. If you went anywhere and read any of my reviews, everyone says I take forever to grade. So I have been working on it, so I'm getting less of those marks, but so it's I'm doing my best, and I'll let you know if we get behind on anything. In terms of communication, I'll be back to you within 24 hours or less, pretty much all the time, unless I tell you otherwise, like for spring break or something, if I'm out of town. If you haven't heard back from me within 24 hours, it's possible I lost your message. Sometimes my son, my little guy, gets my phone and he swipes things that he shouldn't swipe when he's trying to watch his YouTube videos. So please reach out again. You're not pestering at all. If you need to get a hold of me, reach out again. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I might have just missed it, my mistake. But generally, I'll get back to you real quick. So like any good millennial, I'm glued to my phone. I have it on me all the time. All right, and then our course schedule, the interesting part here. This is our tentative schedule, subject to change if needed here. Tonight, course introduction, and then Chapter 1, an introduction to Java. There's actually not a whole lot of interesting stuff here in Chapter 1. Let me actually bump that down one here. And then I'll show you how to get all the tools installed as well as part of the course introduction. Next week, we cover a chapter a week, except for weeks 10 and 11, and I'll tell you why in a second. We pretty much go through a chapter, and then every 2 weeks we have a project. So project 1, we have 2 weeks. It was due 6 p.m. by 2/1. We have project 2 due 6 p.m. by 2:15. Then the only thing we have on tap is getting ready for the midterm. Prep for the midterm. I'll give you last semester's midterm to look at as a sample, as a practice one. Given we have websites like Course Hero and Chegg and all that nonsense, I have to rewrite my exams every time. and that's okay. So it actually works out well because then you get practice questions. We're going to do the midterm before break to get it done and out of the way, because otherwise you're going to spend all break worried about the midterm, studying for it, that sort of thing. So we'll do it before break, get it done and out of the way. So as soon as you're done with the midterm, there's nothing else to do until we get back from break, which should be nice. Hopefully nothing pending there for you. We'll come back from break in March, and we'll pick up Project 3. On this week, the only thing from Chapter 12 we talk about is array lists from Chapter 12. So Chapter 11 is all about arrays. We just look at array lists from Chapter 12. So we're not really doubling up there. On March 22nd, we're going to look at most of Chapter 15, but not all of it. We save some of Chapter 15 for the next programming course, where we get into dealing with binary type files. So we only do text-based files. And then I want to work briefly on exceptions. Again, it's another topic you'll hit in 2151 if you continue on and take the next programming course, Object-Oriented Programming with Java. So we don't do full chapters here, so it's not quite doubling up. We'll look at Project 4. And now you have 2 weeks for Project 4, but I wanted to introduce the final project at the end of March to give you 4 full weeks to get started on it. Project 4 is still hanging, though, until April 5th. So depending on how your schedule goes and how things are working here, you might only actually have 3 weeks for the final project, but I wanted to put it out there so you have additional time if needed, or if you're motivated to get that one working early. So we'll do Chapter 17. I've got supplemental material. There's more things we can do with Java FX that are not covered in the book that we're going to get into, which is a lot of fun. And we'll spend some time doing that. And then 412, if there's more supplemental stuff to cover, depending on how fast it goes, we might have more. If not, it's just time dedicated to work on the final project. Now, if this were a regular semester, we would all be paired up on this. Given we're in the midst of a global pandemic, I'm going to make that optional. If you'd like to pair with somebody, great. If you'd like to do it by yourself, great. Whichever way you want to do. Not a problem here. Oh, and this one is not in person. So the last week, on April 26th, we will all join together on a Zoom meeting. We'll dump Twitch here because it's your turn, your folks' turn to talk and to share your screen. So we won't do that publicly. We'll get on a Zoom call, and you can all share your game, play your game, demonstrate it does X, Y, and Z. You get your points, and we're done. So no final exam, just that final project. That's what I've got for the tentative schedule for the course. So let me go and update this one here. And make sure we're all up to date. Copy that one in. Should replace. Okay, cool. So D2L should be up to date. Yeah, Micro, I'm pretty sure the NSA is not known for their humor. No, I just being silly. All right, so I think all this is up to date then, right? Yep, we got the latest. So we'll meet on Zoom. Oh, why did that not look nice? It's fine here, right? I think it's got the right spacing. Okay, that little like hanging L there is going to bother me. And let's go ahead and center these for fun. Make that look a little bit nicer. We'll try that one more time. One more update. We have to close it first. I'll just close it. Close it, close it, close it. Let me try re-uploading one more time to D2L, see if we can't get this to cooperate. While I'm doing that, any other thoughts, questions, or concerns about the syllabus, the plan for the course, policies, anything like that, grades? Okay. I do want to show you here then in quizzes, we have a syllabus quiz due by next week. It's free points, essentially. It's a quiz about the syllabus, and it's also my CYA that you have agreed to the policy on plagiarism and cheating. So the last question I'll show you. 2 questions are particularly interesting. We'll go through all of them real fast. It's just 10 questions. So ways you can contact me, tools for the class, how you can get them, how you can watch lectures, synchronously, asynchronously. If you're not sure about something, should you ask a friend, ask a tutor, ask me privately, or in the class Discord channel, or all of the above? Right? If it's just a general topic, feel free to pick any of those. Right? Ask a classmate, great. Ask in the Discord channel, great. Ask me privately, great. Ask a tutor, fantastic. Whatever option works for you. Again, I'm partial to the public class Discord option, but anything's fine. Something about an assignment. Should you Google your question, ask me to clarify as soon as possible, do nothing about it, or wait until the day it's due and ask for help? Please don't do this. For the OpenJDK, it's version 17 is the latest and greatest, Lemon. When you click that OpenJDK link, I was going to do that after we finish the syllabus here. Show you all those download links. Ask me as soon as possible. Don't wait until the day it's due and then tell me you didn't understand something when you had 2 weeks to work on a project. I'm going to try and help, but limited availability and limited ability to help as well. For supplemental instructor study group sessions, they're optional, but they're proven to improve your grade in the course. And I'm even offering a bonus point here if you attend one of the sessions on the weekly quizzes. You can get bonus points towards the quizzes. 1 bonus point per quiz per week, essentially, for those group study sessions. If you can't make the group tutoring sessions, times TBD, I'm getting with Mr. Tim, I think tomorrow we're going to chat, then you're also welcome to schedule the individual tutoring sessions. Just ask Miss Rika or Mr. Tim to shoot me a message after you've done an individual session, and I'll add you to that bonus point for the week. If you can't make any of those, and you really want one of these, feel free to reach out and see if we can't schedule an office hours appointment to do something similar and go over some topics that aren't super clear for you. So that's available for you. Whether or not I take work late, my virtual office hours. Generally, I'm at my desk. You can book a meeting. We can chat about anything or something specific. So all of the above is the answer here. This is a very important question. So a typical college course requires 2 hours of work outside the classroom for every hour spent in class. And I know we're virtual, but still, we're pretending this is in-class time. So if we're in class for essentially 4 hours, it's a 4-credit course, you should expect 8 hours of work per week of other things, whether or not it's reading the book, just general studying, if it's working on labs, working on projects, we get exams, anything like that. So a 4-credit class is a 12-hour-a-week commitment if you want to be successful. Again, if your goal is just C to pass, that's perfectly fine. You might not necessarily need all that time, but that's the expectation and the amount of work that you should expect to put in if you want to do well in the course. So what I'd like you to do is tell me what days and times you're going to put into your calendar to reserve for this. If you just say, oh, I'll get to it when I can, that amount of time shrinks, and the I'll get to it when I can shrinks and shrinks and shrinks, and then you end up the day before something's due panicking because it's not working well. You try and get a hold of me. I'm busy and I can't help you, and then you're mad at me, and then you feel bad, and then you don't do well, and you're upset about the course. So let's plan ahead, be proactive, set the time aside, and say, okay, hey, Monday nights, 8 to 10, I'm going to work on stuff. Maybe on Thursday mornings, I'm going to work on stuff, whatever it happens to be. Put that time aside in your calendar. Let me know what it is. So this is, there's no wrong answer here, but this is for you to think about it. Final Fantasy 14? Man, I haven't played a Final Fantasy game since 8. They look really fun, but I spent a lot of time playing Final Fantasy 7. I played 8 when it came out, but I've not played Final Fantasy since then. I like other games. I'm a big gamer, but it's been quite a while since I played Final Fantasy. You think 4 is better? I've always thought 7 is the best, but that's like the one I put the most time into. So, and then question 10. Again, this is my little CYA question here. You acknowledge you've read and understand the course policy on plagiarism and cheating. And here's a quote. This is what it is. Yeah, MMOs are great. So put your name in here. If you're not sure, please don't put your name in. Talk to me first. Let me know what questions you have about the policy on plagiarism and cheating. I will show you how to cite sources. I promise you it's not hard. We'll get to all of that. Okay? But this is, you've acknowledged the policy, and all of this goes into the paperwork that I turn into the dean when I fail people to say, look, they said they did it. Now, I've been told there's a process to this, and at some point in the process, the sanction of, in our case, failing the course can be reversed. In the 10 years that I've been doing this, that has never happened to me. So once I send someone over the wall to the dean's office, it has never come back to me that I was wrong. So just take that for what it's worth. Please just don't cheat. It'll make me happy. It'll make you happy because you'll have put the work in. You'll have learned the things. You'll feel good about yourself. And life will be good. And then our degrees will be more valuable because we'll be putting more people out into the industry who actually know what they're doing, which is fantastic. All right, so that's the syllabus quiz. So take that anytime this week. Before next week, 11:59 p.m. No, that date's wrong. That should be next Tuesday, 11:59 p.m. Let me go change that for you real quick. So hopefully that's 10 free points in that quiz category for you. I'm gonna have to go get some fluids. My throat is getting dry. Talking like nonstop and not being able to drink while I talk is really sad. Yeah, so let's make that. So generally things will be, so all the quizzes will be due the next week by 11:59 p.m. So I'll have one last chance to remind you Tuesday, hey, don't forget to go take that quiz. The projects will be due by 6 p.m. because I'm going over the solution in class after it's due. The labs you'll have until the next week, start of class as well. So I'm going to go over the answer to the labs the next week of class as well. So labs and projects, so anything code related will be due before class starts. Quizzes and exams and things will be 11:59 p.m. So hopefully it's not confusing to have two different times. But essentially, everything that's in D2L is the ultimate, I don't know what I want to say here, that is correct. So if it's in D2L, that's what it is. So if I say something and I don't put it in D2L correctly, that's my fault. Let's go with what D2L says. Unless it needs to be fixed, let me know. But in general, D2L is our source of truth for the course. I did put in calendar reminders for all of the lecture times here. So if you use the D2L calendar tool, hopefully this is helpful for you. All the due dates should show up in here for all the assignments and things. We can go from there. Okay? All right. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? If not, we'll take a little break here. I'm going to go get some fluids, and we'll pick it back up. We'll look at installing the tools. We'll look at our introduction to Java, and then we'll look at the very first lab assignment that we have for the week. And that'll get us out of here. Again, my goal is I spend about half the time talking to you, and then the second half of class is lab time for you to practice the things that we've just done in class. Excuse me. So if you want to meet after virtually, that's great. Discord's great for screen sharing. I can hop on Zoom. I'm fine with that. I'm opposed to Zoom for classwork, so or class lectures really. We're not a discussion-based class. I think that's part of my aversion to it because we don't really have big class discussions around theoretical things. It's much more of a lecture-based. Here's a tool. Here's a technique. Here's a way to solve a problem, and I'm going to show it. King, thank you for the reminder to hydrate. I will go do that in a second. So we put some music back on, and we'll go from there. Say about 10 minutes or so ought to get us time to go do what do they call that? A two-function break. So we'll say 7:06 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be back. All right, so I'm just going to leave it on so that the video recording will just be a single recording, and you can just skip through these when you're done, or if you're watching the recordings. So usually I just leave it on here with some music, okay? All right, see you folks in a little bit. Hey folks. Alrighty. Yeah, I do like this. There's some cool remixes. Try and fade that out a little bit. There we go. At one point I had it like on in the background, but I feel like that might have been a little too distracting, so turn it back off. Alrighty, so let's take a look at some of these tools here. So the downside is I just reinstalled them fresh actually last night when I screwed my computer up and had to reload everything. But I have two 1500 sections, so I can't like reinstall it unless I were to go and uninstall it, which I guess I could, but that seems a little bit obnoxious. So a couple tools. So account on github.com, you make the account first, and then you go download the GitHub desktop client. Desktop.github.com, you click download. It'll work on Windows, it'll work on Mac, it'll work on Linux. You should be all set. I prefer Windows, but everything should be okay in Mac land. It's what it is. And I got my Coke. Here we go. So download that one and install it. It'll have you log in by launching the website out, and then the website will send you back to the GitHub client. So it's kind of a little bit of a back and forth. Not too bad here to get you logged in. Okay. Then you're going to need NetBeans. So we go to the NetBeans link and we go to the OpenJDK link. So for NetBeans, we want the latest 12.6 here. We go to download. You can either get the binaries and just unzip it yourself, but I find the installer is a little bit easier usually. So usually I'll do the installer here. You also need the OpenJDK. So we want to use the JDK 17, the ready for use JDK here. So you click on this one, and then what you get here is a zip file. So the file's all zipped together into a single little package. There's no installer for this one using the OpenJDK. Excuse me. So if you want the commercial versions, right, you go to Oracle. So we're going to use the OpenJDK version. So you click the zip, it's going to go try and download it for you. It'll take a little bit here, and I actually already have it downloaded twice now, so this is my third copy, looks like. That's a quick download. Now with the zip file, what you want to do, you don't want to just open the file. You want to open the location of where that is, which is probably your downloads folder. And then we're going to right-click that zip file and say extract. So you right-click the file, and you say you want to extract all, and it's going to ask where do you want to extract it. Now this is the important part. You can actually put it anywhere you want it. I like following along with what the virtual desktops have. So when I go browse, I created a folder on my C drive called OpenDev. So if you don't have one yet, you can make one. Where'd it go here? OpenDev. So if you don't have a folder named OpenDev, you can just right-click and say, hey, you want a new folder? I think you have to not in the white space, don't you? No, sorry, maybe you have to make the folder first. I thought you could do it, but you can make the folder first. You don't have to put it in OpenDev if you don't want to, but if you do that, everything lives here and it works out pretty well. So you just unzip it right in that folder, and then it'll put this JDK-17.0.1 folder there. Then you're done. So that'll install or extract all of the things that you need for building and writing Java programs. Later we'll do the Java OpenJFX SDK. That's fine, we don't need to do it right now. Works the same kind of way. So I don't need to extract it because I already have it. And then we'll run the NetBeans installer and install it here. If you get an error saying it can't find Java and it doesn't know where Java is installed, there's a way to get it installed. You have to do it through the command line or PowerShell. I've got a video I linked out in Discord for that. I'm happy to hop on as well, but it's this video here. Get about not finding the JDK, go through these steps, or hop on a screen share with me and we'll get it up and going. So it's not too bad. All of this just to avoid the Oracle commercial version, which is actually fine for us to use as a school for educational purposes, but then it avoids any sort of license issues down the road. So I think it's worth the small bit of hassle here to get NetBeans installed. Okay, that's our tools. So that's NetBeans, that's the OpenJDK, that's the GitHub desktop client. Then what we're going to do is, let me actually post our first lab here. I got to go open this up on our classroom GitHub here. I think, did I actually make one? Or if I did or not now. I don't remember. I don't think I did. Let me make a new classroom real quick. Files will take just a second. This is CIS 1500 Winter 2022. Yeah, that's it. CIS Winter 2022. Don't need to invite anybody. So I just do all the assignments here. There's no integrations. We don't need to bother with any of that. I'll make an assignment. This is CIS 1500 2022 Lab 1. So I'll take you through doing this. If NetBeans is an older version, you just install the new one, and then you can uninstall the old one. So they're actually separate installs. It doesn't actually update itself nicely, which is super weird. We're going to get the Java template here that I have. Where'd it go? Here it is, Java template. Yeah, it is really weird. NetBeans is a little bit funky, but it's okay. It'll get the job done. There are some other editors we had looked at changing, but I've got to get in sync with Dr. Baugh and some of my other colleagues over at the Auburn Hills campus and make sure we all do the same thing so we're less confusing for people. And so far we seem to have settled on NetBeans, and we all just kind of deal with it. Understatement of the year, sorry. All right, so here's the link. Oh, no, forward, not backwards. So for Lab 1, Crow, I've taught C++ before. I don't generally teach it here at OCC. Usually Dr. Baugh or Mr. Hadi Nasser teach C++, but I have before. Let's say this will be due next week by 6 p.m. Right, so 10 points. We need to make a new lab. Here, put it in our labs category. Sure. Actually, no, these should be, what, 4 points each? Is that how that works out? I forget. No, it's just 10%, so 10 points each is fine. All right, so Lab 1. So this is the GitHub Classroom link. So use the link above to create a repository. Clone the repository. Create a new NetBeans project in the repository folder. A Java program that introduces yourself. Please output your name, preferred pronouns, your major, any previous programming experience you have. You have reason for taking the class, and then any fun facts or things you want me to know. Need to know about you. Okay, so we're going to put a bunch of information in. When you're done, use the GitHub desktop client to commit the program and push the changes to the GitHub cloud. Submit the URL to the feedback pull request. None of that will make sense. That's okay. I'll show you all of that in a second, how to do all of this. We'll literally do this. I'll show you how to do it, and you can follow along after. Yeah, Crow, I'm actually a fan of C++ as a language for learning. For some reason, people think it's a great first language to learn, and the U of M likes teaching it to freshmen. I think it's an awful language to learn on. I much prefer Java or Python or C# or something, but that's just me. And I've taught it over there as well for their intro courses. I mean, it's a little bit difficult. It's just the syntax is a little bit funky. It's very powerful. So C++ is a fantastic language. You can do so much with it. But just, I don't know. It can be a little difficult to be as a starter language. All right, so what we're going to do, right, we're going to go to that assignment link. So if you click it, it'll take you here. It says, hey, do you want to accept the assignment? And if you'd like to do the work, you have to say yes. So it will generate a repository for you. What a repository is a folder. And particularly, it's a folder that the Git source control tool watches. So Git is just a glorified file watcher. Anything that goes in the folder or comes out of the folder, Git watches and tracks, which is really good at. So Git was created by our friend Linus Torvald, the founder of Linux, when he was looking for a better source control tool to what was previously available. And by golly, he did it. Git is by far and wide the most popular source control tool in the industry now. GitHub just happens to be a hosting provider or a cloud service provider of the Git repository tool, or Git source control tool. So GitHub makes their money selling their services to organizations who want to pay them to keep their software and use their cloud collaboration tools. They give it away to education people for free, and they actually give it away for open source projects for free, and they let anybody create individual projects, private repositories for free as well. They're pretty cool. And they actually got bought out by Microsoft. So the rumor was they weren't actually making enough money, but Microsoft makes enough money they can support this kind of thing. All right, so we're going to accept the assignment. So for every assignment we have, every lab, every project, the final project will have a repository. It's a private repository so that you'll have access and I'll have access and no one else will have access. It's fantastic. So it accepts it. The GitHub Classroom workflow does a couple magic things for us. You just say, wait a couple seconds and hit refresh. It does not take a few minutes. It takes maybe 5 seconds. But I refresh and it says, hey, it's been created. So you can go back to this link anytime you want. It will just take you back to this link here. This is our repository here for Lab 1. So it'll say CIS 1500, Winter 2022, Lab 1 - your username here. In my case, my github.com username is Eric Chinesky. Again, there's only one of me. It's pretty easy, and I'm fine putting my name out there. So, oh, excuse me. All right, now that I have the repository, right, the next step in the assignment was to clone the repository. How to do that, once you've downloaded the GitHub desktop client tool, you click this big old green code button, you say open with GitHub desktop. The GitHub desktop tool says, okay, let's go do this thing. Let's make a copy. So this is just a folder. It wants to make a copy of that folder on my computer. So it's not just in the cloud. It'll be in the cloud and on my computer. So it says, hey, we're going to take this website, which is github.com/OCC/ the big long repository name, and it wants to put it in C, users, Eric C, documents, GitHub, name of the repository. The default is your users folder, documents, GitHub, name of the repository. Defaults are good. We like defaults. If you want to put it somewhere else, go for it. If you want to keep everything on your E drive or in a school folder, go for it. It doesn't really matter where you put it. You just need to know where you did put it. Excuse me. So I'm going to say clone. So clone is the process of making a copy. Takes everything that's in that central cloud repository, copies it down to my computer. So Git is a distributed source control system. So everybody who has a clone of the repository has anything and everything in that repository, the entire history. Hey, Palisi, I don't know how to say your name. Welcome along. Okay. Next step, once we've cloned it, now we have that folder. So there's two really helpful shortcuts in this GitHub desktop client. The two are in the repository menu. There's the View on GitHub link. We'll relaunch the browser to show you your repository. Anytime you want, you can go and see if you can see your code out here in the cloud to see if you're in sync. If you don't see it out here, you're not in sync. That's okay. Well, we haven't put any code out anyway, so no big deal. Oh, that sounds really cool. So I launched back out. If you come here, and I'm just going to make the URL wrong for a second. If you get a 404 not found, check to make sure you're logged in. Because it's a private repository, if you're not logged in, it won't let you see it. So come up to the top right here, make sure you're actually logged into the GitHub website so you can actually see your repository. Should always be there. So you'll have access and I'll have access. Right? The other really helpful link is the repository Show an Explorer menu. Show an Explorer just opens up your file explorer to that folder. Right? Git is just a folder. A GitHub repository is just a folder. Anything I want, I can put in here. So I'm going to right-click and, oh shoot, Windows 11 is the worst. Oh, I do have it. I do. I did not have a new text document earlier today. That's bizarre. I swear, you could look at my recording from earlier, and it was not there this morning. So I'm going to make a new text document and put it in here. This is just, well, I don't know, let's call it, how about test.txt? And inside of here, we'll say, put some text in. The test.txt file. Maybe. Here we go. Test.txt. I don't want the markdown one. No, thank you. No, thank you. All right, we'll say, happy Tuesday. Welcome to CIS 1500. I'm going to save that and close. Don't need this one. Come on. Close. There we go. Now the GitHub client. Oh, I closed the GitHub client too. That's okay. I'm going to reopen the GitHub client. Apparently I'm clicking too fast for my computer. There we go. Now it should say, hey, there's something new, right? Git is a file watcher. It noticed you put a new file in this folder. So under this changes here, it says, since the last time I noticed what was here, the last snapshot I have, there's something new. So the way Git works is it is a series of commits. A commit is just a snapshot of everything in that folder at this point in time. So if you make a commit, it makes a snapshot, and it will save the state of anything inside that folder at that point in time. So this is great. So what you have to do is you have to give it a message here. So this is called your commit summary. Organizations have different rules or policies around what sort of things you should put in here. I could care less what you put in here. Generally, you want it to be meaningful. So I'm going to say like made test.txt, and I'll say commit. Now that will make the snapshot of the folder at this point in time. My local repository has it. My copy has it. I'm not in sync with the cloud. It says, hey, you have one local commit waiting to be pushed to GitHub. So this idea is you're pushing things to the cloud and you're pulling things from the cloud. So when we make a clone, we've essentially pulled things down from the cloud, or there's a whole other workflows in Git. We don't really have time to get into them, where multiple people collaborate in the same repository. You have to push and pull and all sorts of fun stuff. You can learn more about that in the software engineering class. So I'm going to say push. Push to the origin, the central repository of the cloud, and it's going to synchronize what my local repository has with what's in the github.com repository. So now when I do repository view on GitHub, it'll launch the web browser again, and I'll see, you can actually open up and see what's inside of the files. It's really cool. So this web view here on github.com will let you go in and see code. And I know this actually isn't code here, it's just a text file, but once we start writing code, we'll be able to see it out here. So it says, Happy Tuesday, welcome to CIS 1500. So we can see the contents. Okay? So I know where my folder is, right? I know it is my users, documents, GitHub. Here's the repository name, lab1, Eric Czerneski, yada, yada, yada. Now I'm going to fire up NetBeans. Now this will take a second because NetBeans is not the slowest, or I'm sorry, not the fastest tool in the shed. And I'm going to start a project inside of this folder. So if I put something inside this folder, Git is going to say, hey, there's a bunch of new stuff here, and it'll allow us to get all of our code inside the Git repository, which is fantastic. If you can get it to the repository, you can get it to github.com. If you can see it on github.com, I'll be able to see it on github.com. If I can see it on github.com, I can give you points for it. And that's sort of what everyone seems to care about. This way you don't have to deal with adding attachments or uploading things to D2L and I have to download things. It saves us a whole lot of hassle and headache because Git and GitHub are made for managing code and collaborating on code. Turns out that's what we're doing. We're sharing, collaborating on code. You're the one writing it, I'm just the one viewing it, but that's still a collaboration, essentially. And it's a widely used tool in the industry. GitHub has a large user base. I think they're probably the most popular. I don't know that for certain, but they're quite popular out there. There are other hosting providers of the Git source control tool. The Git tool itself is an open source tool. GitHub is a company that sells the hosting services of this cloud service to be the central repository and all these really cool web tools. But Git itself just manages code. Okay, so I'm going to close that down. Close out some of these. We'll come back to those later. Don't need any of those. Don't need any of those. All right. Eventually, this will load here. We'll just give it a minute. All right. So once NetBeans loads, it's kind of like Windows. It looks like it loads. Sometimes it's still behind the scenes. There's usually, this little bar down here. It's opening projects still. So let me give it a second. Otherwise, it's actually not going to do anything yet. All right, we're getting there. All right, so I'm going to go save file, new project. Now, if this is your very first time, this Java with Ant is the option here. These are going to be grayed out, and it's going to ask you to install some plugins. So NetBeans is based on plugins. You can have plugins for all sorts of things. Just say yes, it should download and install them, no problem. If you're running into any issues, let me know. But then, after you've installed the plugins, you should be able to say Java with Ant, Java application, and it should work for you. It shouldn't be grayed out. So we're going to say next. Now, I don't want to put it inside this folder. I want to put it inside of my Lab 1 folder. So I'm going to go to Browse, and I'm going to, inside my GitHub folder, find CIS 1500, Winter 2022, 1500 Lab 1 here. I'm going to say open this folder. So I'm going to put it inside that folder for this repository. So this is the Lab 1 folder, right? Each lab will get its own repository, will be its own folder. Each project will be its own repository, which will be its own folder. That'll just help us keep things organized. I'm going to call this Lab 1. So the name of the project here, and inside of the project or lab repository folder, we're all good. Don't check this use dedicated box, and you do want to have create main class checked. This will make life easier for you because it will write a bunch of code to make your life easier. You don't have to memorize anything or copy a bunch of lines that just look like nonsense. We just say finish. Man, I'm like super dry. I think the super cold weather just dried everything out. All right. Now, this is Java code. This looks kind of funny. So I actually have dark mode turned on. So under your tools and options, you go to your appearance, I believe it is, your look and feel. You can change to a different look and feel. So I'm using dark metal. I think was my preferred. I think dark Nimbus was okay too, but if you prefer a dark mode, just change your look and feel there, and you should be in good shape. Now, when it comes to Java, Java is very particular about syntax. And syntax just means that things have to be written in a way that Java expects. Like English has a syntax. If you don't write words the right way, or if you don't write your sentences the right way, if you're not following those syntax rules, it's going to look like gibberish. So very particular about syntax. So anything that is /* and then / here is a comment. A comment means it actually literally gets ignored by the Java compiler. So this is not code at this point. This is a comment at this point. So for now, I'm just going to get rid of them because we don't need them. They don't make any sense. We'll clear all those ones out. But now we get to see there's a bunch of things that highlight themselves in yellow. So like package is yellow, public class is yellow, public static void is yellow. Those are all reserved keywords in Java that we're not allowed to use ourselves because they mean special things to Java. So what we get here, this little project view in the top left. Let me close out my Hello World. Close that one. So this will open up the Lab 1 project. Inside the Lab 1 project, we see the source packages. Inside the packages, we see Lab 1. So Lab 1 is lowercase. All this means is there's a folder named Lab 1. So if I go back to look at my folder here, this one here, nope, okay, neither of those. So let me go back to the GitHub client, say show in Explorer. In this folder here, now there's a Lab 1 folder. Inside of Lab 1, there are a couple things. There's a NB project folder. This is for NetBeans project. Just leave this folder alone. Anything that happens in here is fine. NetBeans manages this one for you. There's a build file and a manifest file. Again, NetBeans uses them, to leave them alone. Doesn't matter. The source folder, or SRC, is where our source code goes. That's the good folder. Inside of that now is a folder named Lab 1. Remember, we called our project Lab 1. So we're automatically getting a folder with the name of the project in here. This is automatic by NetBeans. Inside of that now there's a lab1.java file. Lab1.java is the name of our file. So Java files are just text files with Java instructions. What's going to happen is we're going to use the Java compiler to turn this into Java bytecode, which is instructions for the Java virtual machine to execute to do the thing we told the computer to do in Java. What's really cool about Java is that Java virtual machine that runs and reads that Java bytecode can run on all sorts of different operating systems. It doesn't just run on Windows. It doesn't just run on Mac or Linux. It can run on, I think they used to advertise billions of devices what run Java. So the folks at Oracle spend a good amount of time, energy, and effort making sure that different platforms will run their Java code, which is a lot of fun. So it's a great starter language because it's very cross-platform and life is pretty good. Excuse me. So the .java file is our text file with our human-readable stuff. So if you look at the GitHub client, this says, hey, there's a bunch of new things. The git ignore file is changed. Let it change. That's perfectly fine. This is ignoring things in the git source control tool that we don't need to add. Mainly anything that you can compile or build, you don't want to put into source control, or anything private. So it's saying, hey, don't add this private folder. We don't actually use this and put anything private in there, but it's just good habit. We see all these other XML files, properties files. We don't care about any of those. That's all stuff for NetBeans. But we do see at the bottom, lab1/source/lab1/lab1.java. This is our Java file. Now, right now, you still see all the comments in there because I haven't saved it yet. Once I come back and save, I like Control-S for save, or you can go File Save. You can click the Save icon, however you like to save. Now we'll see all that goes away. So as files change, you see them showing up here in the GitHub client. So making a commit is free. There's no cost to making a commit. So I recommend you make commits early and often, because as soon as you've committed and pushed to the cloud, it's really, really, really unlikely you're going to lose it. If you spend hours and hours and hours working on something and forget to commit and push, and something happens to your computer, you are out of luck. But if you've been committing and pushing every step along the way, then you've got something to show for it. So I'm going to say, hey, this is lab 1 started. I'm going to commit and push. So there's a push button here, there's a push button here, you get all sorts of options here. And then we can do a little quick sanity check. Let's say repository, view on GitHub. Let's see, can I now see my code on GitHub? Let's check it. So we're going to come back and see, oh, now there's a Lab 1 folder. To see what's inside of it, you just click the link, right? All the files become links. I can click, it'll show me what's inside this folder. The source folder, show me what's inside of that. lab1.java, here we go. And I can see package lab1, public class lab1. This is a curly brace here. That's a shift square brace above the enter key. These are parentheses, and these are square braces. So all sorts of fun things happen. Don't worry about any of this. We'll get into what all of this means as we start learning more about Java. I'm more of a fan of let's just start writing here. And it even tells us, hey, / to do code application logic here. So inside this set of curly braces, inside of main, so we'll call this main. Its name is main here. Inside of main is where we do all of our code to start. So anything we do in Java is going to start inside of main until we learn otherwise. You can start up a project. You don't need to remember any of these things. You'll notice the name of the class here matches the name of the file. That's important to Java. You can't change the name of the class without changing the name of the file. It's super important to Java that those things match. And then package names match folder names. That's just another, it's a convention in Java that it follows. Java has all sorts of fun rules. We'll pick them up as we go, essentially. It's not worth trying to like list everything out and remember everything. So we'll just start as we go. Now, there's nothing that this program is going to do if I tell it to run right now. So to run, you come up to this big green play button and you say run. It goes and thinks for a little bit. You get a little bit of output. And it says run. And then when it's done running, it says build successful. Took 2 seconds. I think it took longer than 2 seconds. I don't know how this counter timer actually works, but that's fine. It wants to say it took 2 seconds. We'll just say it took 2 seconds. So our program didn't do anything right now. We haven't written any Java code. Right? There's nothing inside. So this / here is a comment that actually gets ignored by the Java compiler. If you want to make your program spit something out on the screen, you can do that. So there's a special command you use. It's system.out.println, short for print line, parentheses, inside the parentheses, a set of quotes, inside the quotes, whatever you want it to spit on the screen. Now, for some reason, I don't know how this came about, the very first program you ever write in any programming language ever should always make it say hello world. Make the computer talk. Pretend like your computer's alive. It's just a fun tradition. So capital S system.lowercase-out.lowercase-println, it's an L for line, print line, then parentheses, inside of that quotes, hello world, end quote, end parenthesis, and a semicolon. Semicolons are super important to Java. As part of the syntax, it essentially means here's the end of my command. So every time you see a semicolon, it is at the end of a command, end of telling Java to do something. So notice there's not semicolons, public class lab, that's not anything. Package label gets a semicolon because you're saying, hey, make sure I'm in this package. There's no semicolon after public static void main string args. It's not a command. This is declaring a method. Don't worry about that. We'll get into more of that later. But every time you see the semicolon, it's for a command. So we see hello world. So now let's give it a run. And we should have it spit out hello world to the screen. If it doesn't do that, NetBeans is dumb. My plugins are probably not installed right. So there's, oh my goodness, this option here, compile on save. So if I right click my project and go to properties and go to compiling, if you uncheck this option, compile on save, and say okay, it should work a little better. I have no idea why it does this. It was working earlier today. I wonder if it's just my plugins. It should all be there. I don't, that it's irritating, I'm sorry. Installed. Java. It's installed. I don't want to deactivate it. I don't know. I think my plugin just got messed up. I don't know. I've looked at it before and it always confuses me. So I right click the project, go to properties, go to the compiling section, uncheck compile on save. Yeah, this NB Java C plugin apparently is malfunctioning for me. I thought I have it, but apparently it's not working. So we'll uncheck that. Now we'll try run again. Now it's going to go through. It actually does a whole bunch of things. The ant, that when we say Java with ant project, runs a bunch of commands for us, which is really cool. Does all sorts of cool things in Java. Cool things happen. And then eventually we get under the run section. Now I see hello world. So hooray, my program says hello world. We have made the computer talk. We are magicians in our technological world here. It's fantastic. It actually is really cool to make computers do things. So in terms of our lab assignment here, instead of system.out.println hello world, we need to have it print a couple things. Right? We need to have it introduce ourselves. Our name, pronouns, major, previous programming experience, reason for taking the class, fun facts about yourself. Sure, we can do that. But for now, I'm going to make a commit real quick. So when I come back to my GitHub client, a couple things changed. I don't care about the git ignore. I don't care about the project properties. Let all those things change. I care about the Java file. And it says, hey, this line that used to be line 7 is gone. So red means gone, removed. Green means added. It changed to this. So I have a new line 7. Great. So Git is really good at tracking text files at the line level. So you'll see this line changed, this line changed, this line changed. Excuse me, that Coke is bubbling. It's very specific about what's changing where, which is great. It's really good at this, and it makes life easier down the road when we do more complicated things. So I'm going to say this is hello world. Okay, so I'm going to commit and push, make sure it gets out there. And then I can sanity check. I can go back to my code here. I'm just going to hit refresh and make sure I can see the latest and greatest version. It's not there yet. Give it another second. And a refresh. Now I see system.out.println hello world. What's super cool about this, if you push your code to GitHub and you have problems with something, notice there's these line numbers here to the side. You can come over here and say, like, click on line 7. The URL now has that # L7 for line 7 in here. And yes, that's a #. I'm old enough to remember this was a # before people called it a hashtag. I have no idea where that came from, but it's a #. That's a hill I'm going to die on here. Yes, I'm that old and grumpy sometimes. You can just copy that URL, shoot it over to me in Discord, email. I don't recommend you text me URLs. That's kind of a weird thing to do. But message me this, get it to me, and I can take a look at your code on github.com, and generally I can figure out what's happening real quick. Yeah, as a sharp sign. Yeah, definitely for music. Sharp. I like that too. I believe the technical term for this is octothorpe. I believe it is. I've learned this from possibly a crossword puzzle. Can't really exactly remember. Octothorpe, because it has 8 points or something like that. Right, 8 little branches that stick out on that hashtag. Isn't that okay? I'm not cool enough to do that. Great. All right, so let's update this. So now let's come back. So if you don't like typing, that's okay. I strongly encourage every programmer to be lazy. And I mean that in the best sense of the term. So all good programmers are lazy in that they don't want to do more work than they need to do. So we're all about shortcuts. So one of my favorite shortcuts that we're going to be using all the time, because the first 2/3 of our class are going to be all about putting text on the screen. So system.out.println is really obnoxious to type. What is not obnoxious to type is SOUT for system out, and then you hit tab. Tab is the autocomplete. So SOUT and then tab. So it only works if you haven't moved the cursor. So if you say like SOUT and then some other letters and back it up, oh, it did work for me. Usually it doesn't. Sometimes it's smart, I guess. No, well, so you don't need to do work that doesn't need to be done. You want to put you want to be efficiently lazy, if that's the right term here. So homework is something that has to get done, right? We have to practice to get better at things. That's required. But we're going to do it the easy way, the fast way, the smart way here. I'm almost a whole bottle of Coke down right now. Whew. Yeah, so if you don't type things in right, so a lot of times people think that's an I, they say print in, you get these ugly red marks here. And you get messages like, cannot find symbol, method print in, string, location, variable out of type print stream, alt enter shows hints. A lot of the times it seems really funky and gibberishy. Uh-oh, did I lose you folks? I lost you. Uh-oh. Oh, maybe it's back. Let's see. Anybody? Are we there? Houston? I think we're back. Oh, it's going down. What the heck? The Wi-Fi has been like super stable this whole time. You're already over Java. Come on. Let's go. Let's go bandwidth. No one else is on campus right now, like at 7:45. I don't know what's going on here. All right, cool. Glad you're there. Sorry about that. It can be a little funky. So to be fair, Zoom also gets funky. You just get that like in and out. Same thing happens on Twitch. What I should mention, if I haven't yet, Twitch has on occasion, meaning one time, sent me a check for money. Some people use Twitch as a platform to make money and that sort of thing. So don't think I'm double dipping, please. Any money that Twitch sends my way, I donate to the Student Scholarship Fund over at the University of Michigan Dearborn College of Engineering and Computer Science, where I am both a student and a lecturer. It's kind of fun. I'm currently in their Doctor of Engineering program, studying automotive systems and mobility, researching federated machine learning. It's actually much more interesting than it sounds, I promise. All right. So if we're back, let's go back and update here. So use your commands, right? Use your shortcuts. If you get red lines, you type something wrong, essentially. The syntax is upset. Now, it doesn't always tell you exactly how to fix it, is the problem, right? And this is the sort of thing that's generally pretty quick for me to see how to fix because I've done it often enough. Oh, you got it. Microcosmic, my friend. So because this stuff is awfully boring a lot, you are welcome to use your channel points for all sorts of nonsense things to interrupt what's going on and get a break from craziness. So 2 of the channel point redemptions are for dad jokes and knock-knock jokes, where I happen to have these pack of jokes here, which are fantastic. I also try and screenshot all the dad jokes I can find on my phone. So you wanted the dad joke. Let's see what we got here. So some of these are actually quite good, and some are terrible, which I feel like is actually the goal. I don't think a dad joke is supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be a groaner, so we'll see. Did you hear the rumor about butter? Well, I'm not going to spread it. All right, that was a freebie. How about another one here? What did the ocean say to the other ocean? Nothing. They just waved. All right, I've heard that one before. What's the difference between a poorly dressed man on a tricycle and a well-dressed man on a bicycle? A tire. All right, a knock-knock joke now? You got it. Let's put those ones back. That's enough pain for now. All right, Poofy, I think I got one of those bonus ones will count for yours. We'll do a knock-knock joke, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. Well, true, learn. It's a pretty good machine learning game. All right, let's see what we got here. Nope, did that one. Did that one. Okay. I don't even understand that one. Okay. I did that one already. I think I'm putting these backwards here. Knock, knock. Who's there? Howard. Howard who? How would you like to be knocking for a change? Oh, is a While True Learn is actually like a game? That's pretty cool. I'd have to check that one out. All right, thank you for redeeming your channel points for those. So if you get these red lines here, something is wrong with the syntax. It's telling you, hey, you're missing a comma, or maybe a parenthesis, or maybe a starting square brace. It's not really sure. So unfortunately, it's not great here. But if you spend enough time looking at it, you should be able to eyeball and figure out what's going on. I don't expect you to be able to do that. So if you get stuck somewhere, take a screenshot, reach out, let me know what the error is. I can definitely get you pointed in the right direction, usually in 30 seconds or less. So and print ln here, and we're better. So with print lines, you need to have things in quotes. You can't just type things here. It's going to say, cannot find symbol, variable, whatever you typed. So if you want it to be text, it has to be in quotes because that is what's considered a string in Java. And a string is just a bunch of text here. So we're going to say Eric Chinesky. I prefer he, him pronouns. And I'm going to go down to the next line here. And I'm going to do another system out print line command. So SOUT tab. And now we wanted we as in the royal we because I'm royal apparently. My major. So mine is Doctor of Engineering. In automotive systems and mobility. That's my major. I wanted any previous programming experience. I have since 2005? No, 2006. Since 2006. So that's 15-ish, 16 years. 15-ish years programming experience, lots of languages. So let's I don't know, C++, Java, C#, Python, PowerShell, other languages. VB, that's an old one. ASP.NET, PHP. Those are okay. Sure, this is fun. We'll list a bunch of things. Why not? Reason for taking the class. I'm taking the class because I'm the teacher. Okay, cool. And then last one, fun fact about me. I play D&D with my kids and friends. I have 6 kids. Okay, there's some fun facts. I actually got a D&D tattoo over the pandemic in the midst of being bored and pulling your hair out, and finally it was last spring, I think, when things were starting to get better. We felt like things were going well, and actually the numbers looked pretty good last spring. It was pretty encouraging. It's this fall and winter has been really rough, which is really unfortunate. So I have this one here. I don't know how well that shows up somewhere. It's hard to see. There's a delay. Okay, I think you probably saw it. So it's fun. I like D&D. It's been a lot of fun. I'm a big nerd, so it's dice kind of in the shape of a sword, but instead of a sword hilt, it has a keyblade handle, because I also like Kingdom Hearts. That was one of my favorite video games as a kid. Anyway, so I'm going to save, and I'm going to hit run, make sure it does what I expect. So anytime you write code, you want to make sure it does what you expect it to do. So we'll get out all that information. Looks good. I'll come back to GitHub. I commit my changes. Right, that was the next step. After you do that, use the GitHub desktop client to commit your program, push the changes to the GitHub cloud. Okay, got my changes. So you see my hello world line is gone. These lines were added. So these are old line numbers on the left. These are new line numbers on the right. So this is lab 1 done. Excuse me. Commit and push. And then I'm going to sanity check. I'm going to check it out on the website again real quick. So come back to my repository, refresh, and I see all my code here. Now, what we're going to turn in, what I'd like you to turn in is the feedback pull request. Now, that doesn't mean anything to you yet, but if you look at your code here, there's this tab. They're kind of like tabs, essentially. D&D is Dungeons and Dragons. It's a tabletop role-playing game. So you go to this pull requests tab here, and then you click on feedback. So this is part of the GitHub Classrooms workflow. It automatically gives you this feedback pull request, which is awesome. So pull requests are part of the software engineering process. Most organizations use them if they're using Git to manage and track their code, do sort of peer reviews, process code review processes, all sorts of great things you can learn about in software engineering. So in the feedback pull request now, I get more tabs. So there's like tabs, and then there's more tabs for what we're currently on. The pages are kind of nuts here, but I'm going to go to the Files Changed tab. Go over to Files Changed, and I'm going to scroll. Generally, it's all the way down to the bottom, and I don't know why, but that's how it is here. I see lab1.java. This is the important thing. I want to make sure that I can see the correct code here. If you can see it here, we're good, because if you can see it on github.com, I can see it on github.com. So what you're going to do, you're going to come up to the URL, you're going to copy this, right-click copy or Control-C copy, and that's what you're going to submit to D2L. Right, so when you're in D2L, you go to the assignment, you go to submit, you'll turn in the URL. So give me just half a second here. I got to turn off my screen here so you don't see anything. I'm going to go log in as my student account, and I'll show you how you can submit this real quick. Give me just 1 second. I don't know a quick way to get to that impersonate without opening up the class list, which has all your names on it. So I try not to do that if I can help it. There we go. Impersonate. Okay, back in as me, we should be good. So now I'm in as Eric the student. There we go. So Eric the student here, student Eric. I go to assignments, or in the calendar, go find it here. Go find Lab 1, which is due next week by 6 p.m., right by the start of the next class. I'd like you to have this in, please. Micro, you couldn't find the main class? Were you having some sort of syntax issues? So down in the submit box, it says text submission. You just paste in that URL. Paste. Oh my goodness. Why is pasting not working? Paste. Okay. Why? All right, it pasted that time. I don't know. Sometimes like you paste something into the run box and it can paste. I don't know. Copy again. Yeah, C# is nice. I do like Java as well, but I do prefer C# just because of Visual Studio. I think that's a great tool to use. But this isn't too bad. I mean, it could be worse, for sure. Okay, so turn in the URL to your pull request. It'll say github.com/occ/class/semester-assignment-your username/poll/1/files. Great. Every time will look like this. The only thing that'll be different here is the assignment. It won't be Lab 1, it'll be Lab 2, or Lab 3, or Lab 4, or Project 1, yada, yada, yada. That's what you're going to turn in every time. You go ahead and submit that. And then you're good. So that is Lab 1. That's our intro to Java. We got a little bit more Java stuff to talk about. I think we're doing all right. About due for a break again. Yes, you can update a class name, definitely, Micro. So if you'd like to, let me stop impersonating myself here. Take me back to instructor Eric. Okay. Look at that, there's a new assignment submission. Oh, thank you folks for taking that syllabus quiz, by the way. So if you'd like to rename your class, you don't want to do it by hand. Yes, it's free points. Thank you, King. Don't get 0 on the first assignment. Free points. You just have to follow along. So getting the tools installed takes a minute, and that's okay. So we'll be done pretty shortly here, and you'll have the rest of the night to get that working. I can hop on screen shares if I need to. Honestly, 4-credit night classes are a little rough. I used to do them all the time, and now I get bored of hearing myself talk after so long. So if you're just fried and 2 hours of listening to me is enough, I totally get it if you want to check out and work on this another time throughout the week. My only ask is that you don't wait until the day before or the day that it's due to remember to get back to it. So like come back to it tomorrow or on Thursday when I'm around during the week and I can help you guys out. So that's my ask. So if you're fried and want to stop, that's perfectly fine. I get that. I understand. I'm a student myself on the other side of the classroom occasionally, and I understand that feeling. So I'm happy to work with you to make it work. So don't feel like you've got to get it done out the door if you're just at your limit for the night. But so to rename Micro, what you want to do, you come up to where it says public class and the name of the class right here, like Lab 1. You're going to right click, you go to refactor rename. So the refactor menu is fantastic. We'll get into more of all these shortcuts later, but renaming here will actually rename the file as well for you. So you can change it from Lab 1 to something else. So I'm not actually going to bother renaming it, but that's where you would do that. And it will rename everything for you. It's awesome. So refactor renames your friend. Yep, if it's not Lab 1, it's really okay. I don't actually care what the name of it is. I'm not too particular. There are others who don't share that point of view with me, who are much more particular about the way things are named and formatted and all sorts of things like that. But we can get more into that later. So that's essentially our introduction to Java here. We'll get into Chapter 2 later, next week, right, following along our schedule. So later tonight, I'm going to post the Chapter 1 quiz. You'll have a week, and then until 11:59 p.m. the next Tuesday to get it done. Shouldn't be too bad. Once I'm done here on Twitch, I'm going to export the video out to YouTube, and I'll add the YouTube link here to the lecture archive, or you can just find it on youtube.com/c/Eric Chernesky. The link's in the syllabus. pretty easy to find. And then also, if PowerPoint is more your speed or more your learning style, I have all the textbook PowerPoints out here for you. Assuming everyone has bought and purchased the textbook, I'm fine giving these away to you folks. Please don't share them publicly, right? They are copyright material, thanks to Mr. Maroc, but we're using his book in the class as our main reference, so I have no problem giving you the slides. I just don't use PowerPoint slides because I find more often than not PowerPoint is abused, and when a slide goes up on a screen, most of the time folks start reading and they stop listening, because we'd like to imagine that us humans are good at multitasking, but it turns out we're really bad at multitasking, right? So you can really only do one thing at a time. So if you're reading, you're not listening. And not that I have like anything the most inspirational or amazing world-shattering things to say, but you're going to miss out. So my goal is to give you examples that are not in the textbook, so that you see me do it once, you can read it in the textbook to see it a second time, you can do it a third time for the lab, and then you'll be more successful with these sort of topics afterwards. And that's sort of the general flow of how things should go and how things work for me. Does that make sense? Okay. So in terms of intro to Java, I think we're good. I think we covered all the highlights there. If there's anything we missed, we can quick review over that next week. So I'll post the quiz for chapter 1. Again, open book, open notes, open internet. It's literally test bank questions. So they should be free points if you take the time to go and look them up. Make sure you're getting the right answer. If you want to do it from memory, and then use that as a gauge for how well you remembered some of these things, that's one option. But you're liable to miss some points that way. So my goal with the weekly quizzes is to, 1, get you to read the book, 2, get you to actually use the book, encourage you to read it and understand where the things are. And again, don't have to memorize anything, but you have to do something more than like flip through and look at the bold words if you're going to be successful. So hopefully you're getting something out of lectures, my examples, the class. Hopefully you're getting something out of the textbook, their examples, their practices, and then our lab practices. And then we get to apply all of it to our projects and actually then take it to the next level on the projects. The labs are generally free points. It's almost participation points at this point. You just have to do the thing. So it should be pretty easy repeat of what we did in class. I just want you guys to get into code and try it here before you get off on your own on the projects. And we'll just keep doing labs every week. Every time we have new content, we'll do a lab, and we should be able to follow that flow here. Yep. So read chapter 1 over the week. Oh, thank you so much. Glad you got it in. Oh, and I need to, so I don't today, but starting next week, I'm going to be posting stuff to a public GitHub repository. So you shouldn't need to make any pull request micro. The GitHub Classroom workflow automatically creates that feedback pull request. Oh, okay. I gotcha. So future code examples, like this very first one is not very interesting. If you want, I can put it in the public repository. But so what I'll do is any code examples I do in class, I'm going to put in a public repository that anyone can see on the internet. So all the code will go there for people to see. So I don't need to add any code here in D2L. D2L is not made for code. Right? Tools like GitHub are made for code. So all my code is going to go out there where you folks can see it. So I'll make that class repository. I might as well do it now. Why not? We'll have some fun. So I'm going to show you the slow way of making a GitHub repository, not using the GitHub Classroom tool. There's nothing wrong with this approach, but the GitHub Classroom workflow is really nice and automates a lot of this stuff for me. So I'm going to make a new repository for myself. This is going to be for CIS 1500, winter 2022. This is Tuesday. I have a Monday, Wednesday repository as well. I want to README, I want to git ignore, I want to ignore all the things for Java. I want to have it, so mine I put an MIT license on, so it's just a quick little open source license. You don't need to license any of your stuff because it's private. I don't even really need to do this as well. Did I miss a button? Did I miss a button? What did I do? That's crazy. I thought I did that. Huh. Yeah, I did all those things. Should have done that. Okay. I don't know. I'm confused. That's okay. We'll do it in desktop. So I'm going to go clone this repository. This will be the Tuesday night one here. And you know what? I'll just make another project. That's weird. All right. Let's do a new, no, not undo. File, new project. And I'm going to put it in that other repository now. So I'm going to choose my location. I don't want the lab one. So all of my code examples I'm going to put into our main course repository, the CIS 1500 Winter 2022 Tuesday repository. This will be Hello World. So generally you don't want spaces in your project names either. Spaces are bad in Java land. Don't worry too much about it. It'll convert them for you, but it'll make life easier if you don't have spaces. And I'm just going to copy paste because that's easy. Copy, come over to my Hello World, paste it in here. I'm going to shrink this a little bit. So the UI is, hopefully it's a little nicer for you. I've got my text kind of large because I want it easier to see on stream. It shouldn't be so bad for you folks here. Okay, give that a run, make sure it works. Oh, that compile and save option is killing me. Hello World. Got to figure out that plugin thing. It drives me nuts. And run. There we go. Now I get my information out. So in the GitHub client, I see my Tuesday repository now has a bunch of changes. Great. We'll say hello world, introduction, production. I'll commit and push. So now this one is a public repository. So anything I push out there is publicly available on the internet for all those examples for you folks. So make sure that'll push. Give this one a refresh. Here we go. So now the Hello World project is out here. So I'm going to copy this here, and I'll put this link in D2L. So here in our course information, this will be the course repository if you want that. So the course repository. Okay, that link is out here. So that'll take you out to the GitHub site if you want to see any of those code examples. So feel free to use any of that. That's all stuff we've done as example code. Okay. Any other thoughts, questions, or concerns? That ought to take us through chapter 1 for our course intro. Let me get that syllabus back up, take a look at our schedule. You got the syllabus quiz, you've got lab 1 to work on, and I think that's all we got for tonight. We'll meet back up next Tuesday night, 6 p.m. or so. Again, I usually try and start with a couple minutes of music because I know there's always an ad when you first hop on a Twitch stream, which is the one downside of using Twitch, but I think it's worth the trade-off if you don't mind it. If they start running ads in the middle, I'll be a little upset, but I think generally they don't do that because I don't stream long enough for that to trigger. So next week we'll talk about writing your first Java applications and from chapter 2, and we'll do essentially one chapter a week. We do skip chapter 6, and then we kind of jump around. We skip chapter 9 and 10. We kind of pick our way through. Thankfully, we will use the same book for Java 2 in the summer semester if you're interested. I think we're going to be switching books next fall, though, based on some feedback from our faculty. So we'll look and see. It's all TBD, I guess. I'm hoping for the 6th version of the book, but one of our friends doesn't seem to like Mr. Maroc very much as a textbook, but we'll see. All right, so that's the idea. If you have questions, thoughts, concerns, please reach out. Let me know how I can help. King, I've got a web design course. I have 2 intro to programming courses in Java. I have the Java 2 course, and I have PHP, JSP, web systems development, and also a Python course over at U of M Dearborn. So it's kind of a busy semester going around, but not too bad. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. Yeah, JSP, Java server pages. All right, let's see what else is going on here. Huh. Yeah, I sleep, Micro. Definitely. So actually, I sleep pretty well now that I got a CPAP machine. I've got some moderate sleep apnea that was causing some trouble for a while, but now that I get decent sleep, getting some good 5-6 hours in there, and I feel pretty good in the morning. So I also drink a lot of coffee. Yeah, thankfully sleep apnea was relatively treatable. It might also be treatable if I would lose some weight. I put on the quarantine 20, so I'm up a little higher than probably should be. So hopefully the training for the marathon will take care of that for me. But I also eat like crap, so we'll see. Life is hard, friends. It's just hard sometimes. So yeah, I think we should be in good shape. I was going to see if we could raid out somewhere, but I don't see my friend online. I thought he'd be around, but I don't see it. So let me close this down. Stall just a second. Let's see if he shows up. Okay, let me put on some music again. I'm going to put on this other ending screen real quick. And if you got questions, thoughts, or concerns, let's take this time. It's our lab time. We can get this finished up. Oh, how about now? Now maybe you can hear it if I actually turn on the audio here. Let's see if he's around. He is. Okay, why is it not showing? So yeah, we'll head over that way for fun. And if you want to join the Twitch raid, have fun. We'll go over to see the Ruckton Herbert. It's a great guy, very positive fellow. If not, let me know what I can do to help. I'll be around on Discord. We can hop on Zoom. Feel free to call me. We can go from there. It's been a lot of fun, folks. Take care. Let me know what I can do to help. Please, I'm here to help you be successful. Labs are due next week, by 6 p.m. So before class starts next week. I'll be flexible on this first lab. So if it, ideally we're getting it done. This is making sure all your tools are set up. So take the time to get it done. But if it runs a little over, I'm flexible on the lab. Don't worry too much about that one. Okay. All right. Awesome. Get that guy. Okay, all right, well, we'll head on over to the Ruckton Hermit. Tell them I said hi, and you folks take care.
I'm in this week. Community Shop. Angeles, my friend, how are you doing? Community Shop, Angeles. Thank you so very much for wandering on. Flubbering your friends and raiders here. I hope you guys like Breath of the Wild and songs from Lord of the Rings and Monty Python and Adventure Time. Who is it put up? Hungry! I'm the hermit crabs. We'll try to make your day. And if you think we get, we'll